Well, thanks very much for joining.
No, you're more
So
than welcome.
brilliant. So I firstly would like to ask, what's the mission message of Trash Arts? What do you do? What are you about? That kind of thing.
We're TrashArts are a film production company that focuses on horror films mostly. We like to make independent films working with the community, not just locally, but also nationally. TrashArts also is a events promotional company called Open Your Mouth, where we do workshops, run community fairs, and a monthly open mic. So really, it's about like giving people the opportunity to be able to express their art and be able to tell stories or to be able to perform.
Okay, brilliant. That answers my next question because obviously I remember you from back in 2013, all those years ago, when you were doing band promotion. So what was the first thing that started stuff off? Was it going for the film angle, or was it going from that holistic every form of entertainment angle?
Well, I've always wanted to be a storyteller. So like I started trying to make films when I was about 11
Hmm.
and it didn't really work out first. And then through me and Dinvibo College in 2007, I started making films. But because the cultural environment of Portsmouth, there were like musicians,
Yeah.
filmmakers, and everyone kind of in the same sort of circles. I started doing live music as well because I just kept meeting so many great bands and I wanted to help find a way to be able to showcase them. So yeah, it was kind of like I said, like holistic, wanting to be a filmmaker, but finding ways to be able to promote others through doing events.
Okay, so what sort of people do you work with then? You mentioned that you've been quite national. Have you how far afield have you gone, and what sort of people have you worked with?
On the music sense, we've worked with some awesome people over the last what was it be 16 years or something like that. Because we had Sleaford Mods, we got them
Mhm.
down to Fat Fox once. That was awesome. They were really chill guys as well. And we had a Carla play the wedge drums for
Oh,
us
okay.
before. But a hell of a lot of local bands. Like when we were doing shows at Drift Bar, we were doing a show a week. And then
Hmm.
before then, we were doing the Reg a show a week. So you just meet so many different artists. On the film side, we've been going to a lot more film festivals around the country, meeting different filmmakers. Sorry, my cat's just annoying that
That's fine.
attention. So yeah,
There
like
we go.
so yeah, at the moment, we've been working with a guy called Espen Sibley, who's based in Sunderland, Tom Lee Rutter, who's in the Midlands, a lot of Essex filmmakers. There's a decent scene out there. So really, yeah, we've just been trying to connect with more people. And the other beautiful thing with film in particular is we work for a lot of companies in America and Canada. So we've started to network with more independent creators out there too.
Hmm. So do you offer like I mean, I guess the whole picture. So presumably you've got aspects of filming and then editing and directing. Would you offer like say if you're talking about further afield with America, would you like do editing for people, or would you do the whole package and fly out there or fly them here and that kind of thing?
Well, I've done some editing for other people's films in America.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like it's nice to bring more national actors and different creators down to Portsmouth to see what we have to offer.
Yeah.
With Portsmouth in particular, there used to be a filmmaker in the 80s called Michael J. Murphy, and a lot of people, even nationally and also internationally, still remember his films.
Right. Okay.
His films were very much like fantasy, sci-fi, horror movies. So they already have some sort of reputation and idea of what Portsmouth has to offer. So it's brilliant when they come down and then see like it's a brilliant place to film. There are so many
Yeah.
diverse areas of locations that they see a lot out of that. And that's kind of thing I like being able to bring people down to see what we can offer down here, as well as bringing their talents on boards, for their own reasons.
Yeah. Totally. I've noticed that you've done. I don't know how much work, but you've certainly been associated with the South Sea Cinema. So do you have like your own filming studio, or is most things that you do shooting wise on location or elsewhere?
I wouldn't call it a studio, but our house gets converted into a studio quite
Fair
often.
enough.
Bring up the green screen or the black screen. And with South Cinema, we've just started running a monthly film club
Okay.
where we promote and screen, indie films from locally or nationally or even internationally.
No, okay. So what would you say the biggest production you've worked on so far is then? Um,
Um, what's the thing? They're all still micro budgets. So
mm,
micro budgets we're talking thousands and stuff.
yeah.
A film we made last year called I Curse This Land. that got a decent budget, not like huge budget, but it was more of we were trying to make a bigger entertainment film. A lot of the work I tend to do as a director is more chamber piece, character study, doom and gloom.
Yeah.
But with a Curtis Land, Jackson, who's the co-partner of TrashArts, he wanted to do something a bit more entertaining so we can widen our audience and just to have a bit more scope to it. So that's been the highest budget I Curtis Land, which we're hoping will start doing its festival season at the beginning of next year.
Okay. Well, I noticed on your YouTube channel you've got lots of what I would call short films. Like there's lots of short clips and things like that. So presumably you've got other films not just on YouTube. I know there's one on there that's like a feature length. So do you tend to because you've talked about character pieces and stuff like that and like monologuing type things, would most of your films be of a certain length, or is length of no sort of concern? It's just a case of what comes out of the finished product.
We always try to make sure it's a feature length. With I don't mind making short films. Short films are fun. I like
Yeah.
being part of other film companies' anthologies. We were part of Video Shop Tales of Terror, which had
Hmm.
7 different filmmakers from across the country. That was good fun because you get to try out some skills that you might want to try in a feature film.
Hmm.
But ideally, with the companies we work with, they want films of a certain length. And I kind of like telling feature stories. With our other, we've got like films on some on Amazon, some on annoyingly mostly America because America has all the VOD sites, but we're on
Of
quite a
course,
few
yeah.
on there.
Okay. So how big's the team then? You've mentioned your partner and stuff. Is it very much a two-person outfit, or is it lots of volunteers, or and do you have regular people that appear in your films? Probably lots of questions there, so I'll give you a bit of time to answer them. So, mhm.
Yeah, like on a business sense, it's me and Jackson. On a creative sense, the community sense, there are tons of people that get involved with us, and I'm really happy with that. Like we do have reoccurring actors, and we've been able to grow with them. We've been able to give them different kind of roles, and they've been able to make us better filmmakers.
Mhm.
Um, and some of them become like some of my best friends. And I'm one of those idiots that thinks that anyone you work with can become a friend. So yeah, we try
Fair enough.
to. I like working with new people as well. I like to be
Yeah.
able to give them a smaller role and then see if we can develop a character for them that could be bigger.
Hmm.
One of the actresses we worked with quite often is Annabella Rich, who is a fantastic actress. And she'd done a couple of small roles for us. And then we wanted to like collaborate on bigger projects. So because the problem of indie film, not necessarily a problem, is that not every actor is going to get that key feature role that's going to showcase how brilliant they are.
Yeah.
But if you write with the creator or with the director, you might be able to get that. So with Bella, we did a film called Acting and a film called Home Israel A. And she co-wrote Home Israel A. She got involved with producing. And we just really got to get into like who the character was and where the story's going. And I don't know, it just felt really good to just give someone a showcase of their talent by developing it with them from the start.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's interesting. Do you because obviously you talked about lots of horror films and stuff like that. I noticed on the YouTube channel there's quite a lot of horror stuff. Do you branch out, or is there a certain brand that you aim for? Because obviously, like as a filming company, you can obviously get certainly now with the streaming nature of things, you can film anything. So
Yeah.
do you have a limit on what you do? Would you sort of say you wouldn't do corporate stuff as part of a business? You'd more go for your own style and make sure you have control over creatively?
I wish financially that was an option.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sometimes we get job offers from
Yeah.
different companies and they'll give us a script and
Mhm.
then either A, we have to rewrite it to accustom to ourselves,
Okay.
or yeah, we get to do our own productions. So really we're trying to balance between the two. To me, a good filmmaker can do both.
Mm.
Sometimes we have to pay to live, and sometimes we want to tell a story that we actually want to tell.
Mm.
So I think it's good to balance between the two.
Mhm. No, fair enough. So, is there anything like, is there a dream project that you'd like to make? Do you have like a script maybe, or maybe just generally the sort of thing you'd like to make?
Yeah, I have 2 scripts I really love. One's called Lust for Life. It's a vampire film about a therapist and a vampire.
Okay.
And I did like a short film based on the vampire character for an anthology, but with the script, I just got really into it. I'm a big fan of a downward spiral. Seeing the manipulation of the real world, I always like to throw it into a film because it's a degradation, you know. And then with Lust for Life, it's one of those films that I've kind of stopped myself from going, don't do this on a smaller budget. I
Mm.
even got an agent for it, and he's trying to get it out there to different people to see if the script's of interest. There's another one called Mirror's Image, which is about an actress who wants to give everything for this film, but there's more deception whether this film's even real. And I just like diving into that world of obsession and people trying to do their best, but the horrible forces above making things worse, essentially. And like real like crazy dream projects. I always wanted to do a film about Tim Buckley and Jeff Buckley because
Oh,
of their
okay. Yeah, yeah,
lives, because they died around the same age.
yeah. Mm.
So I always found that kind of interesting. There's a book called Junkie by William S. Burroughs, which I always it's just him taking as many drugs as possible. And I always thought that'd be quite interesting to make into a film. Because
Yeah.
I love horror. Like horror is my favorite genre because you can talk about the world. You
Mm.
can talk about the world in an entertaining way. You can be more fantastical. You can be more damning. But I do love other genres and
Yeah.
do more different kind of films. And sometimes like I'm sitting there and like I'm thinking, oh, I really want to write like a comedy, dark comedy with a bit of crime. And it just doesn't come to me naturally to write those stories,
Yeah.
whereas horror comes to me quite naturally.
I guess the thing is, I mean, I'm a bit of a sci-fi fan, and I like the period of sci-fi. I'd call it the pre-Star Trek sci-fi era, where horror and sci-fi were practically the same thing. Because, I
Yeah,
mean, at that time, sort of the 50s and 60s, there was obviously the threat of nuclear war. That's still around, but of course that it was a very new thing, and I think my perspective is that like the idea of sort of robots and AI and things like that were very much a of the the horror element of things.
yeah,
So I guess yeah, I'd sort of in a way lump sci-fi and horror in that blanket as like there's no limit to what you can do because that's the sort of horror I like the stuff that makes you really think. Which I guess you can kind of do with a smaller budget as well, as opposed to like like the sort of jigsaw slasher stuff, which is probably a high budget stuff, isn't it? I suppose. But,
yeah. Slashers are good fun. Like the thing with slashers is slashers are all about set pieces. It's all
right.
about
Yeah.
perfecting the stabbings and the violence, and it's still something that I'm trying to learn because I've seen people can do it really well, and like you really got to study that particular segment of that genre to understand what makes it work. But you're right. Like when you're talking like if you've got two or three actors and it's just a one location and it's a character piece that may focus like Home is Where LA was about two people who just got married moving into the guy's house and they're very religious and he leaves her and the house itself is almost like haunted and constantly giving her premonitions of her own death. But really, it was a discussion about like gender and misogyny and religion. You can put all of this into the depths of just a small little character piece. And I always love being able to do that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you mentioned sort of character pieces, and I'm sort of I quite like I don't know if you remember what you probably remember like Alone in the Dark, not Alone in the Dark. I'm getting confused. Are You Afraid of the Dark? And
Oh, yeah.
the horror anthology stuff. So like there's also one. It's a bit of a meme now called Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, which had Jonathan Frakes in it, where there's basically five segments of
Uh,
horror elements, and then in the middle you have someone the kind of the piece coming through. So is that sort of because that's to me that's the epitome of horror, that sort of stuff, where you kind of have like a storyteller or a narrative device with maybe unrelated stories, but they're thematically they're similar, but they're they exist in different universes. Is that something you've touched upon or would like to touch upon?
done a few anthologies.
Mm.
The problem with anthologies is like it's really easy to be lazy because you can just compile a bunch of films that don't really connect.
Yeah, 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 okay.
I think it became oversaturated in the
Mm.
indie market for it. But like I've wrote an anthology called Ouija Experiment, which is out on Bayview Entertainment. And that idea of that was a bunch of people that collectively had to do a Ouija board experiment, and then they had to take a phone and then go and record 30 days of what happened. So as an anthology, everything was connected. Every story was running through the same stream. I'm more interested in those kind of anthologies because at least it doesn't feel like you're going, oh, here's the next story. Oh, here's the next story. But
Hmm.
when it's done right, anthologies are awesome. And Video
Yeah.
Shop Tales of Terror, the diverse collection of filmmakers that I got to be part of, they were really like niches within their own kind of interest in horror. So that each one felt individually different.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I like continuity. So I think you talked about like telling personal stories. But like, I mean, wow, I mean, like Goosebumps really just come to my head because of horror anthology. But I remember like they're obviously very very sort of I wouldn't say kid friendly is the right phrase, but they're kind of like the ironic stories, aren't they? Those ones. I mean, there's some
Yeah,
good stuff there, but what I liked about those, certainly the ones on TV, because obviously there was books as well, were that there was the occasional story that would, there'd be a continuity. You'd have the same characters come back, but you'd always
yeah,
see a different perspective on stuff. So I always like that because you can kind of see the themes the same, but the characters are sort of different throughout. Have you dealt with much continuity within, if you like sequels or I suppose not necessarily a sequel, like a narrative device with the same character kind of thing?
One of our early anthologies in 2016 was called Maniacal, which we shot at Wimmering Manor in
Okay.
up in Cosham. And essentially that film was about a fake psychic taking a group through the manor. And as he's going through the manor, he keeps getting this almost psychic vision of the short story. And you play and you go back into the main story. So
Mm.
there was a continuity in that. And then at the end of the film, like he kind of has a bit of a freak out. He's by himself, just lots of scares. But we brought in some of the actors from the other short films, so they were like in real life as opposed to just a short story separately. That was kind of interesting. I think it'd be cool to do more continuity with stuff like that. It's just about timing, and yeah, with anthologies, kind of giving a bit of a break on it, just because yeah, like at one point we were churning out so many anthologies with different producers that I just at some points I'm like, I'm not even watching these films. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
putting them together because I have to put this out there and I have to put that out there. With
yeah.
sequels, we've just started getting into wanting to develop more sequels. We're currently shooting a prequel to a found footage film called Taped Up Memories. We
Okay.
shot Taped Up Memories last year, and when we were coming up with the film, we were like, we could turn this into a trilogy. So we shot the prequel. We started shooting that last weekend, and we're going to continue filming for that next weekend. And the idea is to get those two out quite quickly so we can spend a decent year on the third one.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's something we want to explore back, going back into the characters and just seeing where they're at and stuff, you know?
Yeah. So I thought something there when you mentioned about filming at different points in time. Do you have because obviously if you were say filming at a certain time of day, do you you were doing one scene, would you I'm trying to think of how to formulate the question. How long would a certain scene take? Would you make sure that you had a certain time of day for a certain scene, or presuming let's say a film's an hour long and you've got 20, 30 scenes in it, would you shoot it in order, or would you go, right, I need this, or is it the approach different each time?
I suppose the approach is different each time because some of our films are improvised.
Okay.
So they'll work off almost like bullet point story points where
Okay.
we spend enough time working on the characters that when we get into the scene, it just goes straight for it. And some films you just don't have the flexibility of being able to shoot chronologically. With
Mm.
found footage horror, which we do quite a bit of that,
Yeah.
that gives a real flexibility to move a lot quicker. That kind of stuff, like we were the intent with the new films to shoot it in 2 or 3 days and it'll be about 70 minutes because found footage is obviously just continuous filming.
Yeah.
It's got cuts and stuff, but you're not thinking about optional different angles. When you bring more angles in and stuff like that, or cutaways, anything like that, it's what's good for film. But for found footage, you don't necessarily have to worry about that. You just need to go and action, and the actors just go, right, what would the character do? Be the character in the whole entire moment. That's kind of flexibility with improv. It's never too much of a stretch. The actors don't have to overemphasize, oh, I need to come up with loads of dialogue. Because
Yeah.
to me, improvisation isn't just about dialogue, it's performance. It could
Yeah.
be just
Absolutely.
mannerisms and stuff. We shot a film in 2020 during COVID called Senseless about a man who essentially goes into the woods and lots of strange things happen to him. And we didn't want him to speak. So he says like one line in the whole entire film. And it was all about how he responded to seeing like these monstrous visions and all these ghosts and stuff. And it really worked for me. And the actor struggled because he wanted to go, can I say no? Or go, oh, or say anything. Like, no, don't say anything. Use your eyes, use
Mm.
your body, and I think it can work really well instead of just forcing the gaps with lots of dialogue to show something. Because like if you're in the woods, you're not wandering around talking to yourself, are you? So
No.
it feels more natural, even in a very unnatural environment.
Do you think those kind of constraints on actors um, lead us to their best work? Do you think?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
because sometimes it depends, because constraints can be seen as freeing as well
Mm.
as restraints. Like if you think if you got a strong script and the actor's like, this is the kind of character I want to play, they may put 100,000% into it nonetheless. But if you've got something that is taking them out of their comfort zone and they trust you, because trust is everything when it comes to any art,
Yeah.
then yeah, you may even get something even stronger out of them, and they'll surprise themselves. So it's a toss of a coin, really. It's down to the
Mm.
creator.
Okay, brilliant. On a sort of similar vein, then, so what kind of equipment do you have for filming? How many cameras have you got? What sort of cameras do you use? What sort of sound stuff do you use? Um,
We've been well, luckily recently we've been using the Blackmagic 4 Pocket 4K, which is a
okay.
lovely. And we got a nice 4K Sony Zoom cam for more found footage stuff. I don't know what that's called though. Before that, we are using a DSLR. Like
Yeah.
the funny thing with the cameras, it's really about the lenses.
Mm.
So we have a wide range of lenses that are right for the kind of projects we want to do. But again, the flexibility of filming, like Blackmagic is it's not a big camera, but you've got to put all these fucking attachments on. And so that eats up time in itself. And then the batteries die like there's no tomorrow. So what I learned is every time you get new equipment, there's a new thing that's going to be annoying. And it's always
Yeah.
batteries. You get beautiful lights. You're like, wow, these lights are going to be so good. They're going to be brilliant outside. We've got batteries, great. And as soon as it's cold, battery's like, no, 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 I'm not
Don't
doing
want to
this.
play. Yeah, totally.
Over. So yeah, and um, sound equipment we've slowly been getting better and upgrading with. Like we still don't have a dedicated sound man. Um, it's hard to get dedicated sound man. Sound men are probably one of the more niche when it comes to like filmmaking. Anyone could operate a boom, but to do with the mixer and get all of the levels
Yeah.
correct, you know.
So the panning, stuff like that. It's an art, isn't it? Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And I
Yeah.
think that's the thing with every bit of film is that every bit is an art and it has to have its respect.
Yeah.
With with me and Jack, we kind of swap between directing and DOP, editing,
Mm.
writing, and producing. So he covers the main areas, and then we try and get someone in for each time for sound.
Yeah, totally. So I'm sort of I wouldn't call myself a filmmaker. I do gaming stuff. So I use a lot of game footage, and I do guitar covers and sort of I've been doing a bit of vlogging recently. And what I like about vlogging is it's a really quick, I could call it a story, beginning, middle, end. So what I tend to do is go do like a hi, I'm here with a selfie stick stuff, and then show a lot of B-roll. Here's the middle, a little bit of extra bit, maybe an interview or something with someone in the middle, and then at the end, this is what I thought. And you can shoot that in an hour and then edit it in 2 or 3 hours as well, because that's why I quite enjoy that. But what I tend to do is I'm probably, I don't know if I call myself a techie person, but I like from that perspective, I tend to sort of go, right, I've got this new bit of kit, or I've got this new thing here, or a new effect I can edit. I'm gonna use that in here. So do you take that approach, or is it always come from the storytelling, or do you go like, oh, I want to be able to do like an effect in this, so I'll drive it that way. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it's interesting with some of that because like sometimes opportunities come along where you get to experiment and then
Yeah.
bring it into something else. So music videos are a good example.
Mm.
If I've got a rapper who's like, I want to do a green screen music video and I want it to be all trippy and stuff, then I'm like, cool, I get to learn a bit more about all the individual effects and see
Yeah.
what they can play out. Um, and sometimes even with a feature, we'll go, well, let's put this in there. We've never done that before, but let's learn how to do it and let's try our best to see what we can do with that. Um, yeah, it's always finding different opportunities to experiment and tell a good story at the same time, you know. So yeah, with tech, I always thought I wasn't a techie because I was like, I don't know how you can got a camera, put it on, do all that. But the more I've been doing it, I
Yeah.
suppose when I talk to other people, they're like, well, you know stuff. And I'm like, well, that's good. Stuff's good. So, so yeah, not a huge techie, but I guess I do know a bit by now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've wanted to do the during COVID, I a lot of my time was editing. So because I did a lot of the game stuff, and I got I got quite good at editing. I wouldn't say I'm professional or anything like that, but I enjoy it. I've done it. So I used to make stop motion Lego films back in the early 2000s. So it's something I associate with being very young, and I kind of relax when I do it. So
Yeah, yeah.
but
Editing is like a fun, relaxing kind of
yeah,
activity.
well, yeah, exactly. And it's kind of a bit of a Marmite thing, because some people say what you just said there. Some people are like, "Oh, I hate editing so much." I've never met anyone in the middle, which is really interesting. But like, I mean, I said to me there, I did a vlog the other day, and I took a video in a car park and completely didn't realize that I was next to people's number plates. So I went, "Oh, okay. How do I now blur it out and I actually had a bit of fun finding out what that, YouTube, what was that attack, and then actually that most of the time on that video, it was only, really an hour to do the most of it, the edit, but actually most of the time was spent coming up with and I really enjoyed that, and I kind of like look searching for that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, I guess I suppose in a way it's more of it's not really a techie angle, it's more of a, oh, I've got this new thing I can play with for a bit, and hopefully I can apply it. I mean, certainly if it didn't work in the video, I wouldn't randomly just blur a tree out or something like that. It had
Yeah.
to be, it had to work with the environment you're in. So you got an event coming up on Sunday, is that right? At the Wedgwood
Yes.
Rooms. So
Yes.
what's that about?
And that's Pompey Woods. It's a film festival that we hosted last year, and we've been running a monthly club, as I said, at South Cinema. But yeah, we're going to have a whole day of independent films. We had a short film competition early this year, so we're going to be doing our official selection for that and announcing the winners. We have a screening of Tom Lee Rutter's A Pocket Film of Superstition,
Okay.
which is a fantastic folk horror and kind of anthology, more like a vignettes. So again, it all connects through, but they're all talking about old superstitions and then playing out the sequences. And like Tom, because he shot, I mean, he's been shooting it for like 5 years, but he worked with, again, independent new actors that were on the rise, and then also managed to get others from, like, scream queens like Lynn Lowry, who was in David Cronenberg's films, Carolyn Monroe, who's in one of the Bond films, and loads of Hammer films. So he managed to get like a decent collection of some of the old classic actors. So yeah, that should be pretty cool. And then we also have The Witchfinder General, which is, a UK horror classic. We thought it'd be cool to have a bit of a celebration of folk horror.
Okay, brilliant, cool. So but I'm interested in probably popping down. I can't spend the whole day, but would you be all right with the vlog being
Yeah,
done?
man,
Yeah,
come on down. That'd be cool.
yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be interesting. It'd be nice to, and then maybe do something like that. Maybe like one of yourselves appear on a quick little snippet interview like this, if that's all right. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah,
up for
totally
that,
up for that. Yeah, man.
fantastic. So yeah, okay. So we're kind of getting towards time, unfortunately, because I could talk to you about nerdy filmmaking stuff all night, I'm sure. Um, do you have anything else you would like to plug as the last question?
The only thing I could probably plug is outside of filmmaking, but it's our open mic night that we do at the Wedge Rooms once a month. Open Your Mouth. Open Your Mouth, we did a community festival, Victoria Park as well, which was Arts Council funded. Next one is October the 9th, I think. It's always like the second Monday of the month. It's totally free. The cool thing with the open mic night for that is that we try to encourage new performers to take the stage, but you don't write something down. The host goes on the stage, he performs a little bit, and he goes, "Who's ready to perform?" So you can watch and just enjoy people's performances, and then when you're comfortable, you go on stage. So
Yeah,
I
okay.
really love. I mean, that's been running since 2015,
Hmm.
which is kind of mad for me because, like, the gigs, we don't really do monthly or weekly gigs
No,
anymore, but that is our consistent. And I'm really proud to see so much amazing talent go through it. It's just so cool.
fantastic. All right, brilliant. Well, I'll hopefully see you Sunday. And
Hopefully.
it's just that the Wedgwood Rooms. It's not at the edge of the wedge. It's
Mhm.
the Wedgwood Rooms. Well, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure to talk to you again, because I spoke to you a long time ago. We're getting older now, but thanks very much. Take care.
Good talking to you, man. Have
Thank
a
you.
good day.
You too.
All
Bye
right.
now.